Good evening. First of all, I would like to welcome each of you and thank you for joining our virtual event. My name is Anna Besadze and I'm an advisor to the rector, and I will be facilitating the session today. Firstly, I would like to say hello to our students, professors, and administration of the Grigol Robakidze University, and the rector, Dr. Mamuka Tavkhelidze. Most importantly, I would like to welcome our special guest, Mr. Tengo Mesri. Before we begin, I would like to share what you can expect from this online meeting. The event will be divided into two parts. It will start by signing the Memorandum of Cooperation with the Pensight, which will last for 20 minutes or so, followed by the masterclass of 40 minutes in digital transformation by our keynote speaker, Tengo. Now let me tell you a little bit about the company and Tengo. This is an exciting moment for the university as we have a chance to sign the Memorandum of Cooperation with Pensight, which is a startup company based in London, UK. Within the partnership of the framework of the partnership, the parties agreed to start cooperation in various fields, including offering the internships for our students. Pensight is a platform that connects experts with audiences for live video consultations. Later, I will let Mr. Mesri talk about the company further. You may be wondering about the background of our speaker, who is also representing the Pensight company. Tengiz has an impressive background and is a head of growth at Pensight, an alumnus of the University of Cambridge, and one of the winners of Forbes 30 Under 30. Tengo, I will give you an opportunity to speak later. I will keep it brief now, and since we are the hosts, I will give a floor to Dr. Mamuka Tavkhelidze.
Thank you. The first time I want მინდა გამოხატოთ ჩემი მადლიერება და კმაყოფილება იმის გამო, რომ დღევანდელი დღე შედგა და ეს დღე არის ჩვენი უნივერსიტეტისთვის ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანი, რადგან ვიწყებთ თანამშრომლობას ისეთ კომპანიასთან, რომელსაც მაღალი საერთაშორისო იმიჯი აქვს.
Dr. Tavkhelidze would like to express gratitude and mention and emphasize that it's a very important day for the university and to start collaborating with such a company that has a high reputation, and it's an exciting opportunity for us.
მინდა მივესალმო ბატონ თენგის მესხს, რომელსაც პირველად ვხვდები დღეს და დღევანდელი ჩვენი შეხვედრა დარწმუნებული ვარ გახდება სტარტი ჩვენი შემდგომი თანამშრომლობისა და ჭიდრო ურთიერთობისა, რაც გადაიზრდება ალბათ მეგობრობაში, როგორც ადამიანური, ისე თანამშრომლობით პლანში.
And Dr. Tavkhelidze would like to say hi to you, Tengo, and he's hoping that our partnership will be fruitful and is hoping for the future collaboration that will be fruitful and which will lead to the mutual benefits.
ჩვენ უნივერსიტეტს ძალიან მრავალმხრივი თანამშრომლობა აქვს სხვადასხვა ორგანიზაციასთან, მათ შორის საერთაშორისო ორგანიზაციებთან, მაგრამ მე ხაზს უსვამ იმ გარემოებას, რომ ეს თანამშრომლობა, რომელიც ახლა დღეიდან დაიწყება ამ კომპანიასთან, ჩემი აზრით იქნება განსაკუთრებული იმ თვალსაზრისით, რომ ჩვენი სტუდენტები ეზიარებიან საერთაშორისო სტანდარტებს, თუნდაც ელემენტარული შრომის საერთაშორისო კულტურას, რაც სამწუხაროდ დღესდღეობით საქართველოში მაინც და მაინც მაღალ სიმაღლეებზე არ არის სასურველი.
And what we are hoping is that our students will be able to become familiar with the international labor standards through this partnership. That's why the partnership is very special, even though the university has many different cooperations with different international organizations.
ჩვენ ამ თანამშრომლობას განვიხილავთ არა მხოლოდ ლოკალურად ჩვენი უნივერსიტეტისა და ჩვენი სტუდენტების პარლებში, არამედ განვაზოგადეთ საქართველოს მასშტაბით, იმიტომ რომ თითოეული სტუდენტი, რომელიც გაივლის სტაჟირებას ამ კომპანიაში, ის ხვალდაზე ამ გამოცდილებას გაუზიარებს სხვას და ასე გამრავლდება უკვე ახალი თანამედროვე სტანდარტის მქონე სპეციალისტები საქართველოში.
And this partnership is important not only for the university, but the whole country as well, as these students who will get an internship opportunity and the experience from the company, it will be an achievement not only for the university, but for the whole country, as they will be able to share that experience with others as well.
ასე რომ ჩვენ დღეს ამ კომპანიასთან ერთად ვუყრით საფუძველს ძალიან მე ვიტყოდი ისტორიულ ფაქტს და მოვლენას. ამდენად მე მინდა ძალიან დიდი მადლობა გადაუხადო კომპანიის ხელმძღვანელობას, მენეჯმენტს, რომელიც გამოეხმაურა ჩვენს თხოვნას, ჩვენს სურვილს და მინდა ერთადერთი სურვილი გამოთქვა, რომ ეს მემორანდუმი, რომელსაც დღეს ალბათ მოვაწერთ ხელს, არ დარჩეს მხოლოდ ქაღალდზე და ის რეალურად იქნას რეალიზებული ცხოვრებაში.
Right. And this is a historical partnership, as he would recall, and he would like to extend a thank you to you and the executive leadership of the company as well. The only wish Dr. Tafaliza has is that he would really like to make sure that this partnership is effective and is followed by certain steps versus only staying as only a memorandum. Just blessing our ways to the memorandum, and we hope it to be fruitful and mutually beneficial. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mamuga. Since both parties agree on the terms of the memorandum, I would ask each side to sign their copies, please.
We have the memorandum here, so. Here's our signed memorandum.
Great. Congratulations. What a fascinating moment. Congratulations to both parties on beginning of the productive cooperation. Tango, would you like to make any comments and share more information about yourself and your company?
First of all, Gamajoba, thank you for having me, and Professor Mamuga, Dr. Mamuga, and thank you all at Grigor Robakidze University for inviting me to share my experiences, and I hope this is an interesting conversation and discussion that we open up, and also I'm super excited to get started with our partnership via the memorandum. So thank you, first of all, and thank you for the very, very warm welcome. And yes, I'd love to share kind of my experiences. I have a presentation, and I can also display that. Let me just share my screen. Is that visible?
Yes, and before we go into that, Tango, is there a way we can talk more about the internships as well? Maybe like what kind of requirements would it have for our students, just to make sure that we select right students and right students apply to them to that opening?
Absolutely, yes. So I have a little section at the end of this presentation about the internship. So if you want, I can go through it now, but I think it makes sense to leave it till the end. I'll do the talk, and then I'll share some more information around that partnership.
Sounds great. Okay, so well, since the first part is done, then this leads us to the masterclass in digital transformation, and the floor is yours, Tango. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent. So this talk will be about digital transformations. And this is something that I'm very passionate about and something that I've been involved in for a very long time, over a decade. We all know that technology is revolutionizing the world. It's disrupting businesses and industries through digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. So those are three separate words with their own very meanings. I'll talk about more about that within this discussion. And I also want to provide an overview of the forces driving the change. And I also want to explore some opportunities that have been presented in today's global markets. So I'll begin with a little bit about me. Thank you again for the lovely introduction. It's very kind of you. So I'll explain my journey and why I got so involved in digital transformations and why I think really it's the future. So I'm a Georgian by heritage, if you can tell from my name, but I was born and raised in Manchester. So I was born in the UK. I spent my time growing up supporting Manchester United, of course, back in the good old days. I then attended engineering at Cambridge, where I studied technology from a wide range of things. So everything from building structures such as skyscrapers through to biotechnology and so forth. And I really got fascinated by the intermediary step between business and technology, because pure science as well isn't useful until it becomes applied. And then applied science is really only useful when it becomes a commercial benefit for people on the day-to-day. So I moved from Cambridge after having some experience with startups and also working in finance and programming. I moved into business consulting. So I spent my time in the McKinsey London offices as a business consultant, where I was consulting various companies in the Fortune 500 list, in the FTSE 100, and these large corporations, banks, pharmaceutical companies, and international organizations, as well as public bodies, were struggling to essentially become more digital and using technology to its absolute potential in order to achieve their goals. So it was a fantastic experience at McKinsey & Company. One of the clients who I worked with was actually the Bank of Georgia. So the Bank of Georgia essentially hired us for an agile transformation. So an agile transformation is a subset of digital transformations, and it's about how to improve the software development process in order to build better digital products. So stuff like the mobile banking application, the business online internet bank, and also across the system within the organization as well. So there's digital tools within Bank of Georgia that were being developed and still are being developed, and it was a case of how do we develop them better. So that project went really well, and essentially I had a very good relationship with the Bank of Georgia team, and essentially 2 years ago in 2019 I ended up joining the Bank of Georgia from McKinsey as the deputy CIO, and I was working as the head of Agile, so continuing that Agile transformation. More recently, I've been involved in various different organizations, primarily Pensight. So Pensight is a tech startup in London. We recently raised seed funding of $3 million from a range of VC investors and angel investors. And our mission is essentially to enable independent experts to monetize their knowledge. So this is about the democratization of education. It's about people having some expertise in their head and sharing that expertise with others so that we can help improve each other's lives. And it's a super fascinating concept. Again, I'll talk more about this later in the talk. And another area that I've been involved in is co-founding my own software development company and educational center for tech. So these are called Concept Digital and Digital Institute. And this is part of my own personal mission, which is to help raise the level of tech and help develop the tech sphere within Georgia. That's what that's all about. But yeah, you can contact me more. So I want to get started talking about digital transformations. And the first thing that we should take note of is that everything we do in business is really about improving our decision making, whether that's to decide which products we want to buy from suppliers to then sell on to our customers, how to build the products, how to improve processes, or how to prioritize and make strategies around them. Everything we're talking about is decision making. Digitalization and digital transformations are exactly to improve this decision-making capability and to ensure that we can execute more effectively when it comes to business. So the first thing I want to introduce is the DIKW model. So D stands for data, I for information, K for knowledge, and W for wisdom. This is the way to kind of understand data as a whole and how it moves from raw data. So the fact that there's a red light, somewhere is simply raw data. It doesn't mean anything on its own. From that, we can add meaning to it. So there's a red light on a traffic light. on some streets that we see. That meaning then goes into context. And so this red light on a traffic light means that it's because I'm driving towards this traffic light, it's something I should be aware of. It's a red light, a traffic light I'm driving towards. So there's a context added to that pure information. And then this is all happening in the past. It becomes wisdom as soon as we can actually apply that and say, you know, there's a red light, therefore I should stop. So you can see there's raw data starting from a red light. We add meaning to it, explaining what that is and where that's happening. Then we add context to how that is relative to our own position. And then we can make a decision from that. So the wisdom is really applying the decision-making on top of data, which we've converted to information and knowledge. It's important to remember that data exists in all forms. So you might have heard of big data, which is very trendy right now. So it's massive amounts of data, millions of records, such as Google searches. If you think about all the billions of people around the world who make Google searches, of course, there's a huge amount of data there, and that can be used to, first of all, from that data, extract meaning and context, and then apply that to improve Google itself, for example. The small data, the smart data, fast data, slow data, unstructured data, and also structured data. So there's lots of different forms, and essentially what we want to get from this data is actionable intelligence. And this actionable intelligence is exactly what wisdom is. It's something that we can take actions on to improve the situation or the process that we're in. So once we have that base of DIKW as an understanding for information and knowledge, we can move into what digital transformations are and why they're useful. So there's 5 different forces that have been applied and coming into context that have meant that the pace of digital transformation is massively increasing. First of all, there's the technology leap. So we have new technologies entering the market. You might have heard of blockchain, you might have heard of AI. There's lots of different technologies which are driving digital transformations that are happening today. The second one is new business ecosystems that answer increasingly complex issues. So all kinds of businesses are now building ecosystems. So you might find banking organizations get involved into insurance, and they can use transactions to help provide better insurance covers. And lots of different kind of partnerships are happening between businesses, which means that the general commercial space and landscape can understand you as a consumer better and therefore provide better products to you. So that's been a big driver. There's also new operating models for more efficiency and agility. So agile delivery model is a type of operating model. So this is, again, speaking specifically about technology companies. We want software development to be more agile in the sense that the world is rapidly changing. What we wanted 15 years ago was a phone that could make calls. Now, what we want is a phone that not only makes calls, but also can access the internet. You can play videos, you can record videos, you can do everything pretty much on just one device now. So we need a whole new way of looking at the world to be agile and adapt to the said experience. There's also an increased demand for personalized experiences. So before, everyone would expect to receive the exact same kind of experience when you go into a bank. Nowadays, you want to know that, look, I'm getting an offer specifically for me. They should know that I am building a house, and so I need a mortgage, or whatever the case may be. It's all about increased personalization. So that's a customer demand-driven change. And finally, regulation and the legal frameworks are changing around the world. So, for example, open banking is a new massive regulatory framework that is coming in from the EU. It's also already in Georgia. You might hear about from the banks. So this is essentially meaning that you can access all your different banking data from one application because of this new directory. And these kind of changes in the regulation, of course, cause a change in the technology that's required to handle that. So these are what's causing digital transformation, but what is digital transformation? So to kind of step back a bit, there's 3 different levels to think about. So there's digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation, which is kind of confusing because they sound very similar and they are interrelated, of course. However, the first step is to understand what digitization is. In many contexts, it is confounded and used as digitalization, but essentially digitization is for creating digital versions of analog or physical things, such as documents, photographs, sounds, etc. So historically, in the early 20th century or the 18th, 19th century, everything would be on paper. You might have seen photos of banks where there's loads of humans sat on tables going through files. It's all in paper. They have to find the paper in the filing cabinet, and all of this information it could be a video. A video will be on a cassette tape, right? So you have this magnetic video cassette tape, and this is like a physical object that you can touch. However, the digitization means converting that from paper onto actual electronic data. So now that you can see paper, you can see this slide, which would historically have been a piece of paper. Now you can see it on your screen, so it's digital. There's nothing to actually touch. It's all information, zeros and ones. You might have seen code. Do we save data by digitizing it and making it digital? So that's the first step, to essentially convert offline data into digital data, which is software. And of course, there's lots of different data that could come from this. So it could be simple signals, it could be health records. So historically, again, your health record would be written on a piece of paper. Instead, now in many countries, that's online and saved on a hard drive somewhere. Location data, identity cards, all of these can now be in digital format and used by computing systems for various reasons. The next step is digitalization. So digitalization, again, sometimes the first step of digitalization is digitization, because you can't be digital if you don't have digital data. In business, digitalization most often refers to enabling, improving, or transforming business operations and business functions or models and processes by leveraging digital technologies. So if you think about what that means, essentially in the context of digitized data, you move from the DIKW level. You don't just have the data converted to digital data, but you already start extracting some meaning and some context. So this is kind of like in the past part of the pyramid before you move on to improved decision making. So digitalization is about changing business operations and models and revenue streams. So lots of new business opportunities are created, and these kind of generate new insights for business to improve that. I'll use an example because I think this is still quite difficult to understand without some examples. But yeah, and then moving on from digitalization to digital transformation, it's essentially broader. So we move to actually operating the business digitally rather than understanding of it as a historical business and just using a few digital processes to make it more efficient. It requires far more bridges, and it's much more encompassing. So the reason we say that's how we describe for the transformation of a business from not just essentially a traditional legacy business, but already a tech business. So moving on to an example, which I think will help, is, as I mentioned, video cassettes. So again, data used to be analog on video cassettes, printed on these kind of small strips, and there would be a light shining through, and that would show you the image that you want to see. So that those videos would be analog data. We first digitized that. So when DVDs came into existence, digital video discs, they were essentially digital data, and they'd be recorded as zeros and ones on this magnetic disc. But that, again, that's one step to making copying, for example, copying of that data much easier. But until we digitalized it, YouTube came along and digitalized it. So from that video, we then created context and meaning. So we added kind of a frame. There's shared featured videos which are related, and all this kind of created an entire new platform for understanding this data that was originally just on video cassettes. And then the next step is digital transformation. So Netflix, kind of similar to YouTube, did already use the kind of first layers and second layers of digital data of videos, and digitalized data of lots of videos can be shared with you, and there's ratings and so forth. It then continued the digital transformation by approaching this as a technology company and using AI, a better understanding of data-driven marketing, of A/B testing, and lots of different tools within the digital framework to essentially identify and analyze trends in watching behaviors so that they can recommend the optimal next film to grow engagement of their platform. So Netflix's main aim is, of course, entertainment. They want to essentially help you have a great time. So the way they do that is by understanding people better from what their history is, understanding what has driven trends, and now they can essentially create the best platform so that everybody around the world is watching Squid Game or whatever the new series is. And so this is kind of a framework to understand these digital transformations. So I'll go through a couple more. The first one is the hotel industry, and the hospitality industry is facing a massive transformation right now. For example, Marriott, the huge hotel chain that they have, used and harnessed digital transformation to essentially increase the benefits of the guest experience. So as a guest, normally just turn up, you are a person, they give you your room, and that's it. You live there, you leave. Now, with the help of the Bonvoy loyalty program that they have, which is also a digital program, it becomes much more personalized and enhanced. So they created high impact marketing content, first of all, and that streamlines the everyday administrative process. So you can now say through the application that you don't want your towels to be washed, and so you get points because you're more green. You use up less energy. So there's lots of new different functions that are being added thanks to this transformation within the hospitality industry, meeting the needs of a digital consumer market while also preserving the quality experience. Another interesting one is in agriculture. So again, historically, agriculture has been people out on fields using equipment. The first technology that was used was, of course, the yoke. And so this yoke and using animals was the first step to kind of the technological transformation of agriculture, because instead of people having to walk through and dig everything by hand, they had cows and systems, machines, essentially to help with that. And then from that, we've got we've got tractors. So tractors now help with a lot of the work that needs to be done on farms. But nowadays, there's many more applications. So for example, Croppin is, if I remember correctly, an Israeli startup, and they use lots of different tools such as data storage, machine learning, satellite monitoring even. So using satellites to generate images of the farms, and also weather analysis to actually create more data, and also then leverage that data to make better decisions. So to figure out what crop should be planted next, and so forth. And so by understanding what is gonna happen with the weather, what is happening in terms of the soil, and also what tools are available, they can help farms pick better tools, pick better crops, and therefore achieve more yield, which will down the line mean, first of all, more profit for business, but also means the consumers, so us at the end of the day, we get to have more food that we want. And so there's a super exciting buzz around the kind of potential private-public partnerships that are happening within the agriculture space to streamline and gain some competitive advantage there. So yeah, Croppin is an intuitive, intelligent, and self-evolving system. And so this is like the latest technology trends driving digital transformation. Is, you might have heard of AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. And so this is a super, super exciting space. And one final example to share with you is even in the education space. So for example, MBAs are being redone and re-understood. There's an interesting case of how can you create cohort-based learning and enable people to actually bond with their live practical lecturers. So there's a new, for example, alt MBA that is being rolled out in America, and the idea is essentially that now that we move to a remote world, people are often happy to learn online, and so you can get exposure to these people who have worked at Tesla, Netflix, Zalando, Airbnb, and so forth, and actually come into contact with them. And so it's not the kind of American style MBAs which cost $100,000 a year to attend, and even more sometimes. Instead, you kind of get many similar classes, much smaller. So these are 15-minute classes, very different approach to the traditional MBA. And so they've kind of tried to use digital for remote learning and the interaction within technological kind of advanced experts to move that further forward. So there's no classrooms, no buildings, no campuses, and the lecturers have a completely different approach. And so you can see even digital transformation is affecting education. So those are a few examples, and I quickly want to explain kind of what is the process for approaching a digital transformation, and then I'm interested if you have any questions. So there's 3 stages essentially to a digital transformation. First is for defining the value. So what is it that we're trying to achieve? What do we want to accomplish and get out of the process of the digital transformation? So there's 3 steps within defining value. Then we have the launch and the acceleration. So the way to do that is first trying out something, running an experiment, figuring out how well it works. And then, of course, once we've proven the concept, we've proven that there is a demand for it and we can achieve this value, we can start scaling up. So there's 3 more steps there. So in the first section, the first phase, which is defining value first, it's important to get management commitment and buy-in from the seniors in an organization. They must be clear that we will be achieving this, this, and this through our transformation, and therefore they need also clear and ambitious targets. And of course, with buy-in, we mean not only mental and buy-in of yes, we want to try this out, but we also need investment to actually run the experiments and try this new solution. So it could be digitizing the process, for example. The next step, as mentioned, is actually testing this out with a lighthouse project or pilot project. Here you want to get a very strong team, launch team, to test this out, and this needs to be organized in a new agile way of working. So agile is a way of doing business which is using cross-functional teams, because often when you have separated teams across marketing and development and sales and so forth, the lack of communication between the teams makes running a project very difficult. So this is about decreasing the dependencies between teams, and once you have one team full of lots of different roles, you can achieve and finish projects much quicker. So you want to use an agile way of working, and also to nurture a digital culture where people are using the latest technologies and tools to improve their decision making. And then once you've proven that this concept is working for this transformation, then it's all about scaling it up and increasing the impact that it has on the organization. So it's about prioritizing initiatives to increase, to get the low-hanging fruit, as they're often called. So low-hanging fruit means we can get some return on investment quickly and use that to build it up. And then, of course, there's capability. So capability is essentially about training and understanding, so that people can use this new way of working and adopting the new operating model organization-wide. So this could be agile operating model, it could be lean. Again, there's lots of different ways to operate a business in order to achieve the goals that are required. And so moving from that, we've kind of looked at digital transformations for large organizations such as Netflix, huge industries such as video and so forth. I want to kind of... Sorry? I'm not sure. Yeah.
Make sure all your microphones are muted. We had a one participant. Just sorry about that, Tango.
No problem. Yeah, so I want to kind of move on to Pensight and how I'm still involved in digital transformation today. So Pensight is essentially about helping individuals use digital and digital transformations to effectively improve their business. So first of all, what is Pensight? Pensight is, as Anna mentioned, it's a platform to help independent experts to essentially run and scale their online business. So whether you're a maths tutor, a business coach, a life coach, maybe a property expert, everyone has some kind of expertise in their head. There might be a designer, there might be a fashion blogger or something. There's often people that have communities. So on Instagram or on YouTube, people share content, and lots of people then follow them. So you can have 5,000 followers, 10,000 followers who are interested in what you have to say. If you're an expert on something, let's say fashion, for example. So if you're a fashion blogger and you can talk about the latest trends with Balenciaga or Bottega Veneta, whatever it may be, there's people that are interested to learn about you. But you as an individual can make a business out of this. It's difficult to right now. With the help of Pensight, it becomes much easier, because we help essentially to transform and create a business from scratch. So we enable the creation of a storefront, essentially a shop or a profile where you can say, my name is John and I know a lot about fashion, and so you can listen to me about that. Then from that profile, we can also accept bookings. So people who want to say, have half an hour to consult you and ask, what is the best dress for me to wear or whatever. That also happens through the Pensight platform. Payments, again, is a very interesting space, because payments is being transformed right now across the world. In Georgia, you may have heard of Payzy. Payzy is a payments provider and a digitally focused e-commerce provider. So e-commerce is another huge area of digital transformation, and payments is a super exciting space. So we help these people to accept payments. And also right now we're having a video session in Zoom. Pensight allows video sessions through the platform, which means that these business people, individuals, experts can essentially hold Zoom calls within the platform, and everything is managed inside the website. And finally, and a very interesting offering is, for example, careers coaches. There are people that you might want to go to ask about, what should I be my next step in careers? How do I get into investment banking? How do I learn about insurance or whatever? These careers coaches can share this information through half-an-hour sessions or an hour session, but you might not need an hour session. You might have a CV ready and you just want them to essentially review your CV. We also allow questions and answers. So you can share as a question, what can I do to improve my CV? And as a careers coach expert myself, through Pensight, I can answer, I can spend half an hour to an hour reviewing it, send it back to them, and then essentially offer that as a new type of service that isn't available to them historically. So within Pensight, we are essentially looking and searching for interns in roles across marketing, growth, and operations. And you'll have the opportunity to practice and learn about branding, content creation, outreach, digital marketing, community management, and many more. So to understand kind of what is the difference between marketing and growth and ops. So marketing is essentially about building awareness of the brand. This is a way of kind of creating, first of all, you have to create a brand. So you understand as a business that we're trying to be friendly. We're trying to be authoritative, personal, and these kind of characteristics of a human can become part of the characteristics of a brand. The same way an organization, you might have a view of Apple. So Apple has a brand which is they're cool, they're stylish, they're designer, they're minimal, and they're very functional. But they're also expensive. They're high quality. So these are kind of the ways to look at a brand. And Apple's marketing, really kind of everything is about expressing that brand as a statement. So even when you go to an Apple store, if you've been to one in Europe or maybe even in Georgia, there's the Apple shops. They have a very specific look and feel to them. And this is all about expressing that brand and marketing that message. So that's an important part of any business to build awareness and make people aware of what your brand is. Growth is a mixture of marketing, sales, and products. So growth is essentially, the word itself, I think, makes sense, but in a business context, it's about not only increasing your brand, but also increasing the clients that you're serving, and also using those clients to gather feedback and improve the product. So there's different paths to improve the number of people who are using your product and the clients that you have. But it's about understanding there's product-led growth, there's marketing-led growth, there's sales-led growth, and it's across those fields. If you use multiple different angles, you can increase the business like that. And operations is about the actual operational running of a business, whether it comes to kind of administrative tasks or anything that happens in what's traditionally called the back office. So we're essentially looking for very driven, motivated individuals, students who would be interested in essentially providing, getting involved in the Pensight team and learning more about how we are helping individuals and how they can also get involved with these different streams. And so if you're interested, I want to say that you can reach out to me. So first of all, I'm here if anybody has any questions. I don't know if we're having a Q&A session, but I'm happy to answer any questions that we have right now. My email is here, so it's just tango@pensight.com. And please reach out to me with your CV if any of this sounds interesting to you, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions that we have. But yeah, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much for this very interesting presentation, Tango. The first question I will have about the internship is, are there any degree requirements for our students? Like, do they need to be from marketing, or can they be like journalists but have maybe they are driven and motivated to work in that field?
Yes, it's a great question. So we believe that essentially what's important is the transferable skills. So we don't demand for marketing experience or anything like that. What is important to us is essentially the motivation, a willingness to learn, and a willingness to try out different experiments. So the way we approach growth as a whole at Pensight is essentially to understand that there are lots of different experiments to run. The one way to look at the operating model of a business is another thing you might have heard of. It's called data-driven decision making. So the idea is that I could say that the next thing we should do is, say, adding a new function or feature to the application, to the program. Somebody else might say, no, we don't need to change the product. We need to create a new website. And so it's very difficult for us to compare and say, yes, I should spend, I don't know, $100,000 on marketing. No, I should spend $100,000 on increasing, adding features to the product. And so the idea is, through running experiments, we can actually reduce the risk of either one. So you can spend 1 or 2 weeks first adding something. Say, if there is a feature that we want to add to the product, I could say, let's just quickly add a button to the product, which says, click this if you want this feature. And then we can measure how many people actually click that link. And if we find that there's nobody clicking that link, then actually my hypothesis, my experiment that lots of people want this new feature, we will find out that that was wrong. And so we can use that data instead of spending 2 months and lots of money developing that feature. We can actually just test it out like that. So this is a way of like an experimental way of looking at lots of different changes we're approaching. And likewise with marketing, we can run smaller experiments to figure out what is working well, what is a high return on investment, and improve from that. So the kind of people we are looking for is people who can understand this this way of running experiments, understand like there's lots of different tasks to be done in terms of the content creation, digital marketing, and it's more about a curiosity about learning, and also common sense business wise to actually help make a change to Pensight.
Correct, thank you. And are there any age limitations? Like, do we only have juniors and seniors, or can we have like sophomores as well?
Yes, happy to. Essentially, we are open to anyone who's interested and who has the skills and motivation and drive to learn about this. So there's no age limitations. We will take into account, of course, we will take into account any experience you have, and that it would be preferred if you have already worked with this, or if you know any specific marketing tools, for example, that of course would help your application. But again, as mentioned, we care about drive, curiosity, and also approaching this in a logical kind of format, and also being kind of rigorous in the reporting. So it's all about kind of, if we want to be data driven, if we want to use data to make better decisions, then we also need to keep track of everything we're doing and report it correctly. So kind of this kind of logical, rigorous approach is something we're looking for.
Right, and just to clarify, we had the internship is virtual, and do we have any duration, or is it 3 months, 6 months, or?
Yes, so yes, correct, it will be remote, although I will personally be back and forth in Georgia, so I'd be very happy to meet anybody who joins. And in terms of duration, we're looking at generally 6 months opportunities and interns, but again, if there's for whatever reason some external factor which means you can only do 3 months or something like that, then again we will take that into account. We don't want to be too fixed in our approach for who we're looking for, but yeah, generally we're looking for 6 months.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, and let's see if we have any questions.
May I, Anna?
Yes, please.
So first of all, Mr. Tengo, thank you very much for this exciting presentation. We are interested to involve our students in many programs. Of course, all universities try to find new relations, new organizations. But I guess for our students, this is new things. Many with new directions, the directions which you mentioned today. And what do you advise us to give them some additional trainings before they intern? They need this.
Yes, so it's a great question again, and thank you, Murtaz, for the kind words. So for us, digital marketing basics would be helpful. So an understanding of what are the different kind of tools and campaigns that can be run. So right now, kind of the main approach that we're taking is using email marketing and social media marketing. And within that, there's organic and paid. So right now we're not focusing on paid marketing at all. We are doing this through organic outreach and through kind of lead generation. So these kind of phrases, email marketing, social media marketing, lead generation, and content creation, those kind of 4 areas, and a deeper understanding in that would definitely help with the applications. And there's lots of online material as well that people can research. Students can find out online to help give them a kind of solid foundation and basis. And there's, again, a lot of online trainings or courses that can be found, which will enable a quicker kind of ramp up and onboarding process. So that of course is super helpful. In terms of other trainings, it's a case of the actual tools come in handy. So kind of understanding spreadsheets, Microsoft Excel, other tools such as actual marketing tools. So there's a tool called Later. These are all relatively more intuitive. So I think it's okay if you don't focus on any specific marketing tools, but understanding the kind of basic computer literacy and being able to use the internet thoroughly so that you can do research is a critical part of the task.
Okay, may I one more question?
Yes, please.
6 months it's optimal, I think, but it's longer than our semester, I mean study semester, and how real it's to do this together, these two things for students.
It's a good question.
How busy are they
So we are aware that students have other commitments, and we don't want to. Of course, education is super important, and we do not want at all for it to affect their courses. So we will be working around, like helping these students work around their existing schedules. Again, like we don't want anybody missing any lectures. We don't want anybody missing any homeworks or seminars or anything like that. So that's an absolute paramount to us importance for students to not use Pensight as an excuse or whatever. We definitely will make sure that that's not part of what we're working with. In terms of, I think, the level of capacity that we're looking for, part-time is something that is definitely we'll consider. And really it's down to the students as well, how much they're willing to commit. But yeah, from our side, education comes first and foremost, and then we want to help with the education in terms of providing them with real life industrial experience as well in a global international setting, because we're based in the UK. It's technically actually an American-British company, Pensight, but we're based in the UK. The majority of our team are in London, and we have clients from literally all over the world. So we have people in South Africa, in Australia, New Zealand, America, Canada, India as well. And so like literally all over the world. And I think that'll be super exciting for the students. But yeah, in terms of the capacity and the ability for students to spend time, we're really looking for part-time and depending on their own schedules.
Okay, thank you.
Can I, Tengiz?
Yes, please, Mamuka.
As I see, it's a new sphere in Georgia. Is it correct?
Yes, definitely.
And Mr. Murtaz, is it possible to include some topics in our program?
Yes, I think about this, Mr. Rector, how we can.
If Tengiz help us.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. I'd be happy to help.
I mean this, first of all, I hope Tengiz some support to improve our curricula. It need. I don't ask incidentally about the additional trainings, because I see also your web page, there are requirements, and for this I think our students need some separate programs to prepare for intern. So
of course, that's I'd be happy to support.
Yes. My answer, Mr. Rector, is that we will start to think about this.
Sure. And yeah.
May I introduce my idea? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Mariam Solashvili. I'm a project manager at Grigol Robakidze University. In the first place, I have to thank you for this incredibly interesting presentation, because this digital transformation and innovation is the key not only for individual development and not only for the development of individual organizations, but it's a matter of national success, I would say. And I want to encourage our students to participate and use all the opportunities you are going to give us during these collaboration programs. And I'm also thinking about maybe we can develop some projects together for our students. Mr. Mamuka mentioned that it will be useful maybe for our students to include the information and materials, whatever you have, to prepare our students for your internship programs. Maybe we can organize some summer schools as well, if you support us and give us the direction, what kind of information should be provided to our students. But Anumamuk, I
understand. It's a very good idea. I understand.
Yeah.
Mariam. Okay.
Thank you, Mariam. Yeah.
All right, Mariam. All right. It's good idea.
I'd be super happy to support that, and yes, happy to help co-create curricula. Kind of understanding of what are the real practical, pragmatic skills that will help with the industrial side of a real life work experience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mariam.
I think this presentation will be very good motivation for our students to learning these topics, and I think it's very good. It will be very better to developing our academic program.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Modern. It will be modern program.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand?
Yes, I understand. So, yeah, I am absolutely agree because nowadays, you know, that digitalization is in everywhere, in every field, especially in education, it's important. So we try this, but I can't say we have some important result yet, but we must continue. Yeah, I agree.
And I'll add one more thing that I think digitalization and digital transformation it's a journey. It's not a destination. It's ongoing, and nobody has really ever. You don't complete digital transformation. It's always something that you need to improve, and so it's important to just take it step by step. Again, always realign, keep strategy, kind of refreshing your strategy and approach, and only through that and a deep kind of understanding of who the customers are, like what are you trying to achieve. I think in education it's clear that you want to help provide some kind of tools for people professionally and also for their life. So I think, yeah, as long as you're working towards that and improving that and increasing the efficiency, I think Mariam made a good point as well about kind of national kind of success is also would be by large part down to this. It's something that I feel passionately about. I guess I've been kind of through my family, I'm quite patriotic. So like if I can help in any way also increase the level of kind of digital maturity and knowledge within Georgia, I'm always happy to help. So I'm super excited to partner with you in the entirety of Grigol Robakidze University to help spread the word.
That's right. That's right. And one question, please. What do you think? How is perspective this system in education system?
I think digital transformations definitely will have a big impact on education. I think COVID has forced
in general.
Yeah, so I think COVID has forced a huge change already in education, and I think there will be a lot of changes to be done again, like as mentioned, within the curricular and syllabus structure that exists, because so many things are changing. So much information is now out of date that wasn't out of date. So literally 10 years ago, you could have given a course about how to use Google effectively, and now most of that information would be out of date. So it's a case of constantly renewing and being on top of modern tools and applications. And I think first of all, the tooling is important, but the actual approach, so the kind of the mentality that's needed to be successful, also training people to learn how to learn. I think that's the incredibly important part. That the most important thing I think a university can give to their students is teaching them that learning is never ending as well. So it's important to always be learning and improving yourself.
Yes, I agree with you. Thank you.
Great points made. Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions?
Our students, do you have questions?
And meanwhile, I will tell you, Tengiz, that also if you, when you come to Georgia, please feel free to visit. We would love to host you at the university. And if you would like to use, I don't know, any space for meeting as well, you can use our university, like for interviewing our students for the internship or other candidates as well.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that offer. Thank you. And I look forward to visiting live in the flesh.
Great.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, I don't see any other questions in the chat, and I don't see any.
It's new sphere for our students, and I think because of that, they're thinking about these problems now.
Definitely. Amazing. Well, you have my email now. I can also share the presentation with you, and yeah, please feel free. Anybody who wants to reach out to me, I'm open and happy to discuss. And yeah, I will do everything of my ability to answer any questions that comes up. But yeah, thank you again for inviting me. Thank you for listening, and I hope that was interesting and useful.
Very interesting. Thank you so much, Tango. And that brings us to the end of this event. I'm so happy that new ideas were born, both in terms of improving the curriculum and summer schools as well by Mariam. Tango, thank you so much for your time today. Please also extend special thank you to the CEO and the leadership team of the company. We hope to build a fruitful long-term partnership, which will mutually benefit our students and the company as well. I would also like to thank each participant. Thank you all for your attention, and I will see you next time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you.